This book, Starting Out the Reti by Grandmaster McDonald, should be a book for beginners who want to learn this opening. Honestly, I don't think the Réti should be an opening for beginners. Why do I say that? Because the Réti is based on knight f3, right? And then d4, c4, and at a certain point maybe you play d4, right? The problem is that there are a lot of possible transposition into other openings, and so you need to know what you are doing. And I believe it's a kind of way to fight for the center, and generally you develop this kind of fighting for the center with when you reach a certain level over the board. In my case, I think it was between 1700 and 1900 that I felt that you needed to win the fight for the center in order to have a good game, otherwise it would have been a mess. But so why I like this book? Because it has practically a lot of games as examples, okay? And so that's the important thing. Yeah, in fact it says it's made by knight f3, d5, c4, and then at the right moment you will play this d4, okay? And here he also says a quick word about transposition. When you play the Réti, you always have to be thinking about a possible transposition into another opening that suits you better than the opponent, and also vice versa. So you understand, no? And here he says, here an extreme example of a killer transposition in the younger school of Soviet chess. Andrew Soltis relates a story about the future world Grandmaster Rafael Vaganian. He was playing well in a young master tournament at Vilna in 1971 and felt positive and confident when he sat down to play Mikhail Pogets. His opponent always opened one knight f3, and so, expecting a close English, Vaganian replied with this, watch. Knight f3, he made c5. So I don't know if you guys understood the problem. We are not in the Réti anymore, we are in the Sicilian. Boom, e4, knight c6, d4, and now you need to have studied the Sicilian for black, otherwise he is really out of his depth, right? C takes d4, knight takes d4, and now he played e6. And again, you will see, because I just played a tournament game online in which I played something like e5. This e5 at this point, I'm sorry, it doesn't even look like a Sicilian anymore. It looks like an open game, like a Scotch. So, as you can see, there are a lot of possibility of transposition into other opening or into pawn structures that remind you of a different type of opening structure, and so you need to be prepared, no, for that. So in this game that he's trying to show us, he made e6, knight c3. So I guess Vaganian really lost badly, probably. I don't know. Let's see what happened. Queen c7 and g3. Okay. So the point here is that notice also the fianchetto and white is maintaining a knowledge of the opening structure that black doesn't have, and sometimes you feel it when they don't understand what they are doing. And let's see how it continues, and then I show you another thing. a6, bishop g2, knight f6, castle, knight takes d4, queen takes d4, bishop c5, bishop f4, d6, queen d3, h6, and here McDonald says the first sign that the Ghanaian doesn't know what to do. He should meet the pressure on d6 by regrouping his knight with knight d7. So instead of this, he should have played this, and then to play e5, right? Or instead, what happened is that now white plays knight a4, e5, knight takes c5, e takes f4, and knight b3. F takes, h takes, castle, rook a d1, rook d8, hoopla, e5, knight e8, and here McDonald ends the variation or the fragment of a game that is showing, saying that white has a strong initiative. And you can see it. Why does white have a strong initiative? Of course, you see, the rook are connected, so for white the opening phase of the game is over. For black it isn't, because they are not. Black has all the pieces on his fourth rank. White has the pieces that are actually attacking and doing something. So that's a huge difference. Now, I don't know how it went that game, but the thing is that, as you can see, what happened was that black was expecting to play a symmetrical English, and instead he found himself in a Sicilian. What would have been the symmetrical English that he would expect? It would have been the following. Practically, when white played knight f3 and black went on c5, because openings are kind of interesting in this sense. You need to know what you're doing. So knight f3, c5, he was expecting this, but white didn't play that. And this would have been the symmetrical English, no? That would be c4, c5, and then knight f3, knight f6, blah blah blah, right? But that's not what happened, because, oops, white entered in a Sicilian, and you need to be ready to know that. So, as you can see, obviously now I will do another video with really a game from the book, or more videos with more games from the book. But when you play the Réti, you need to be ready to enter into openings that maybe you or your opponent are better knowledge than, and so it's a fight. It's actually a fight for the center, and you show these moves and see what the other guy is doing. Depending on what the other guy is doing, you change the course of the game. Notice that when you play knight f3, of course, you are starting to control these two squares, and that's why I tell you it's a fight for the center, right? And so when black start to play this, also black is starting to control two squares in your territory, right? And then, of course, when you play this, you are fighting back for the squares that are controlled by your opponent, and so on and so forth. The book, again, as I said, it's very interesting. Why? Because it's mainly made by games that show the entire game, like you can say here, for example. And then at the end of the book, there is there is an entire tree of the opening that he gave, so you have an idea if you want to play in a correspondence game how to play. So what I do is generally I watch fast throughout all the games to have an idea of what the author is trying to teach me, and then I go online and I play correspondence game, which means like 1 day per move or 3 days per move. I generally like 1 day per move with no vacation, and so a game can be over in less than a month. But you have tried to see if you understand the opening or not and what you remember. Once you have passed the stage of the correspondence game, then I start to play it in Blitz. Because at that point I have memorized enough the opening moves that I can actually use it in a Blitz game. So I hope you will enjoy this book, and now let me do another video with some real games from the book. Thank you very much for watching.